time and relative dimensions in space, it is more than just a linear path. It is a machine of infinite wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey interdimensional possibilities, where one slight change can alter the course of the universe as you know it. I am Techie Voon, your guide to these new vast realities. So come with me now and ponder the question, what if? This episode of What If builds and expands on the story and world line of the previous 2 episodes. For any returning viewers, I will be doing key moments, with the previous 2 episodes being down in the description. Martha Jones and her family pass away after the Lazarus experiment. This is because she chooses not to stay with the Doctor after the end of Shakespeare's Code because Rose Tyler is still the Doctor's companion. She's not trapped in the parallel universe after the events of Doomsday. In the 3-parter finale of Series 3, Rose, instead of the Doctor, is aged by the Master's laser screwdriver, right before Lucy Saxon gets her revenge on the Master, shooting him dead. Unable to do the same psychic energy rejuvenation trick because, well, Time Lord biology is a lot different to human, Rose is doomed to a life of being a 72-year-old. And the fallout from this is where this timeline begins. However, there are a few noteworthy things to point out about this timeline. For instance, Donna Noble and the Doctor have not actually met. And just as a little hot fix for the last episode, I'm going to say that all perception filters are a little bit weaker in this universe. So Martha noticing the watch wasn't a requirement for the Master's return. So yeah, this is a real dark fantasy, no Donna Noble and no Martha. Anyway, with that said, this is What If Withered Rose. We pick up at the start of Series 4, however, partners in crime, the fires of Pompeii, and Planet of the Ood don't actually happen. Well, they do still happen. They just haven't happened yet because the Doctor hasn't decided to go to those locations yet, or the TARDIS hasn't decided for him, which I believe is how Doctor Who works. Anyway, during these 3 adventures, the Doctor is actually looking after Rose, even though she's reluctant to receive help, with her trying to convince him that she can still go on adventures and still do the things that they did. The Doctor checks Rose's vitals with the sonic screwdriver and also sets up an obstacle course, telling Rose if she can get through it by a certain amount of time, then she can come on one last adventure with him. A physical, fragile yet determined Rose tries the obstacle course a few times. However, she's a good 30 seconds behind the time that the Doctor said. Although she does improve, days go by of all the same, just rinse and repeat trying the same obstacle course, but always falling short of the actual number. She gets a feeling that when the Doctor scanned her with the sonic, he deliberately set this time knowing that she wouldn't actually be able to achieve it, and it was just another way of him protecting her. However, Rose being Rose, she never gave up, and if anything, it just made her that much more determined to prove him wrong. The Doctor watched from the sidelines as Rose gave it her best shot, crossing the finish line with half a second to spare. Extremely out of breath but jumping with joy, and you thought I couldn't do it. With a worried expression written on his face, the Doctor claps from the sidelines, replying, "I had to be sure." His celebration and triumph over the course was cut short though. Exploding out of every corner and every inch of the surroundings, unit jeeps, trucks, and helicopters appeared, with groups of soldiers running towards them, with the most important looking jeep pulling up right in front of them. Stepping out of the jeep was Corporal Mace. "What are you doing that for?" "I have a sonic screwdriver, not laser vision," the Doctor said, immediately taking offense to the salute, while pushing his hand away from his head. "That's a fine obstacle course you've got there, sir. I might have to get my troops to take a run at it." The Doctor, "Don't waste my time, Corporal. Why are you here?" Corporal Mace hands over an open laptop to the Doctor, with him quickly analysing the information on the screen. "So this big show is all about unit going green? Bit much, isn't it?" Mace further explains the satellite navigation system, Atmos, Atmospheric Omissions System, as the Doctor, Mace and Rose travel to the factory where the devices are being made. Corporal Mace explains further that they've already done a raid on the factory and plan to conduct an investigation on the grounds of the suspicion that it could be alien technology, holding the employees for interrogation and interviews. However, unit has called on the Doctor because they need an alien specialist. "Looks like we're getting our adventure sooner than I thought," the Doctor commenting to Rose as they reached a temporary unit base camp in the factory. They are both further debriefed about the situation, with 52 deaths occurring at the same time spontaneously. They are also informed about the young prodigy Luke Rattigan, who came up with the Atmos system. "Actually, I'm more clever than you can't say that, because that That would be Obmission System. Learn to write a script, Techie Voon, if that is your real name. The Doctor with Rose go to investigate Atmos at Ratigan's private school, Ratigan's Academy. It's at this point that I want to remind you that there's going to be a lot of divergence from the actual Prime BBC universe. The motivations of Donna Noble is to go back home to ensure her family that she's safe, and her motivations are a lot more different to Rose's at this point, especially with everyone else that Rose actually cares about being stuck in a parallel, universe. Rose has no motivation to actually leave the Doctor's side at this point. Anyway, as they both investigate, the Doctor notices the teleport pod and discover that it's owned by an alien race known as Sontarans. However, they both have to make a quick getaway after being confronted by General Stahl, after the Doctor questions the motivations of the Sontarans, with it not being the typical behavior of a clone warrior race, with the Sontarans appearing to be hiding away instead of invading. Back to the subplot of the Atmos factory, the cloning pool is discovered by 2 unit soldiers. However, when they are replaced, they start to struggle to find someone high enough in the ranks with the essential information to disrupt the Colonel's orders. This also means that the Sontarans don't get an effective mole within unit, which, as you can imagine, drastically changes the landscape of this story. Anyway, the Doctor further investigates the Atmos devices by pulling apart one of the unit jeeps and discovers that it emits a poisonous gas. It is at this point where all 400 million Atmos devices installed in cars worldwide are activated. A bonus little Easter egg, let's say, because there's no Donna Noble. Wilfred still does actually get trapped in the car and Sylvia saves him, so even though Donna likely died in the Runaway Bride episode, well, because she never met the Doctor, Wilfred and Sylvia are still alive in this universe. Meanwhile, the Doctor warns Unit not to engage with the Sontarans. However, Mace doesn't listen to him. The alien warriors end up taking over the factory. The Doctor opens up communication lines with Commander Skull. He deducts that the war between the Sontarans and the Rutans, after 50,000 years, isn't going so well for the Sontarans, leading the Sontarans to come to Earth to convert it into a clone planet to make more troops for the war effort. And the gas is just a way to terraform the Earth into the right conditions to do so. Meanwhile, Luke Ratigan tells his students what the grand plan is: to relocate them to a new planet. The students aren't remotely interested in that idea though, and turn on Luke for his visionary madness. He pulls out a gun and threatens them, but he's too afraid to pull the trigger. Realizing it's an empty threat, the students leave the academy. Back now with the Doctor, who's trying to convince Mace not to attack the Sontaran ship in the upper atmosphere with nukes. His efforts are rendered unsuccessful. Without an effective mole within Unit, aka Martha Jones, there's no interruption, so the launch isn't cancelled. Just as the Doctor predicted, the nukes hit the ship to little effect, although do in fact burn up the highly flammable gas within the atmosphere, a welcome side effect of the explosion that the Doctor knew about, but wanted to avoid due to the Sontarans changing their strategy to engage in war with humanity. He wanted more time to convince them to leave Earth more peacefully. Within minutes of the nukes colliding with the Sontaran ship, Unit report multiple important locations and cities being under attack. The Valiant gets blown out the sky and crashes into the ocean. The Doctor and Rose seek safety and take refuge in the TARDIS, as the temporary base came under siege. They travel in the TARDIS to Ratigan's Academy. He quickly puts together a high-tech bomb from the scraps of technology that the students used. Due to the time difference and using the TARDIS instead of the teleport pod, they don't run into Luke on the way, carrying the newly assembled bomb to the teleporter while telling Rose to go back to the TARDIS. The Doctor's plan is to set off the bomb if the Sontarans don't surrender. Rose opens the TARDIS doors, but when she does, she hears a gunshot go off. Turning around, she sees Luke with a gun in his hand as the Doctor falls to the ground. She screams, running to the aid of the downed Doctor. Now glowing with regeneration energy, he states that it started. Rose takes a step back, but unfortunately Commander Stahl teleports into the room. Taking advantage of the situation, he shoots the Doctor, mid-regeneration, stopping the process. Well done, boy. You secured our victory. Rose makes a break for the TARDIS as the commander kills Luke. With the door slamming behind her, Rose in a panic trips in front of the TARDIS console. In that moment, she notices a familiar orange glow. Taking her withered self into consideration, and knowing that the universe still needs the Doctor, she does the only thing that she knows can fix both problems. She takes the console panel off and stares into the heart of the TARDIS. And for the second and last time, the BadWolf returns. The TARDIS doors fly open, emitting a yellow-orange glow. With the time vortex back in her head, she floats towards the commander. He desperately fires off his rifle. However, BadWolf deflects the shot with one hand. I give life. The Doctor breathes deep as he's brought back to the land of the living. Immediately saying, no, not again, BadWolf says I bring death as she vaporizes the Sontaran forces all apart from the commander, with one swift movement of the hand. I become young again. The Doctor watches as Rose turns back into her 20s. That's enough, Rose. Visions of a future and a tear in her eye. He comes for me. He comes for the BadWolf. Immediately following her statement, the noise of a creepy, twisted, glitched out TARDIS gets louder and louder in the room. The Doctor, Rose and Stahl look in a direction where the noise is the loudest. Unlucky for Stahl, it's above his head, occupying his entire mind with dread. He frantically tries to teleport to no success. Realizing his only option is to run, he makes a break for it. The BadWolf, it doesn't matter where you run, the nightmare machine will find you. Materializing above his head as he sprints away, the public nightmare paradox box slams down with brutal weight and force, crushing the Sontaran into a fine paste as it slides into the middle of the room. BadWolf, he's here. The paradox box eyes blink. As the machine comes to a standstill, the doors swing open. Emerging from the shadow within is the Paradox Doctor, Rose BadWolf. I have the metaphysical engine, so you know what happens now, don't you? The Doctor, no Rose, stop, let me change you back. The Paradox Doctor, do you hear that, Rose? He wants to make you old again. I am the same as him, but better. And with me, you can live and be young forever. All you have to do is step inside my TARDIS.